Lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all. Keep telling us some fun things you're doing this weekend or anything awesome that's happened this week that we can celebrate. It's great to see you. I know we had a week off, but it felt like a month for some reason. And today we are kind of heading into some really exciting territory. So hope you're ready. Before we do, I'm just going to call on Karen Conlon. Karen is obviously one of our accountability leaders, so many of you would have met her through the live round. She's also a certified magnetic money coach. She's also an awesome accountant, and she's got an offer for everyone in the Magnetic Money Club. So I'm just going to throw to Karen and get her to talk about that for a moment. As soon as she finds the unmute button, she found it.
Found it.
Yay.
Hi there, everybody. Karen Conlon from Sum Total Accounting and Business. Also a
Sorry, Karen.
Yeah.
I don't know about everybody else, but your sound didn't cut in until after your first sentence. It's okay now, but start again because I didn't hear the beginning.
Hello, everybody. Karen Conlon from Sum Total Accounting and Business. Also a certified magnetic money coach. And today I'd just like to talk to you all about an offer that I have going, which is to really drill in and get that magnetic money planner rocking for you. Because many of you might struggle with the actual numbers. They can be a little bit confronting sometimes and also a little bit confusing. So if you really want to get clarity around that financial planner, then I can really help you with that. So my offer is to spend over a period of 4 to 6 months with me, working through 6 to 8 sessions, making sure that you are understanding, making the numbers balance, making sure that they're working for you, and really starting to drill into how to make the planner work for you. Over that period, that would be an investment of $1,200. But we'll certainly get you cooking and really make that planner work for you during that period. So because I know that numbers can be a real sticking point for some people, and I think you would find that working with an accountant that really feels for you and can really gently help you through those numbers will be super duper important and good for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That's a really awesome offer, guys, because Karen is a really highly sought after business accountant, and to have her one-on-one time with you at that rate especially is really cool. So if you're somebody who thinks, you know what, I really want to nail this, I really need to understand my numbers, I want to get it right, and tap into someone who's also then got all that knowledge around accounting and all the business side of things, tax and all the rest of it, that's a really awesome opportunity. So just if you want to talk to Karen, you know where to find her in the Magnetic Money Club Facebook group. All right. So we are going to talk about today old money story. So those of you who are here live on the call, give me a quick show of hands if you've had a go at writing your old story. Tamsin's going, yeah, kind of, sort of, maybe. I know Gisela has because we worked through it together yesterday. All right. So if you've made a start, great, because we can workshop it together on the call. If you haven't made a start yet, then hopefully today's call will kind of give you that little bit of encouragement and guidance to get into it, because the old money story is a really transformative kind of line in the sand along this magnetic money process. You know, there's lots of things we do that build up in layers along the way that kind of build your muscles in terms of maintaining a higher level of alignment. You know, we haven't even gotten to some of the little tools sort out your mindset, but we've talked about some stuff along the way. You've got some tools under your belt already around all of that. You've made a start on getting your numbers sorted and getting your planner sorted and the practical side of things. But this is really kind of where we just blow up all those old ways of relating to money and really clear the space for you to start fresh and have the relationship with money that you choose to have. And it's actually a very simple, elegant process that encompasses things that if you approach them differently, it might take you like years and a whole lot of pain and suffering to get to. So it really packs a punch, and it is a fairly simple process to go through, deceptively so, which is the case with quite a few things in this program. So the old money story, what we want to do is we want to recognize, like, what's that story that you've bought into? What's that story you've been running? And really give it a little bit of, give it a face, because what we want to end up with is just a really simple headline and a summary paragraph so that you can just go, yep, that's the story I've been running. And once you can see it and you've sort of externalized it, like we're going through that process of dissociating from it, disconnecting you from it, particularly that emotional unconscious connection, right? Which causes all those behavior patterns and emotional reactions and triggers that you're like, why the fudge does this keep happening? So we want to recognize it, dissociate from it, and then release it. And just like I've said before, when we went through the thoughts become things cycle, weakening it is enough, but this process will weaken it to the point that, you know, it's just a little puddle on the ground begging for survival, or it may completely disappear. So it's not just weakening, oh, now it's weak enough that I don't have to battle it so hard anymore. Like, it significantly breaks it down. And then next week we start working on what are we replacing it with, because that takes care of whatever's left of it. So it's really important to do this. I cannot say this enough. It's really important to commit to this process and do it properly. If you're a bit uncomfortable, that's perfectly normal, because you're rewiring some old patterns. And it's meant to be uncomfortable. It's not, if it's not uncomfortable, if this is like easy, not a problem, tick that box, let's move on, you haven't actually done it properly, right? Because dissociating and rewiring old patterns is uncomfortable. We're rewiring your nervous system. We're moving you into a new area. We're leaving an old comfort zone. And your nervous system is going to create some perturbation. Like, the old patterns are going to arc up a little bit and try and pull you back and keep you where you're comfortable and safe, only because it's familiar, not because it's good for you. So it's up to you to really dig in and push through that. And so take advantage. I'm going to add some extra focus sessions next week, and I only want people who are coming to talk to me about their old money story. Now, we've got plenty of focus sessions sprinkled throughout the live round. Next week, if you're not coming in with your old money story, I'm going to tell you to go away. So I want you to really, finish this process. Also, if you say you can't make that or they book out too fast, we have a post in the Facebook group where we workshop it. And that's actually a really great way to do it, because I get to really sit with it, ponder it a little bit, throw some things back at you. You can kind of let that percolate, and we just keep working it until you tell me that you feel the physical release, because that's what you will feel. When you complete the process, you literally feel the weight drop from your shoulders, because you're no longer using so much energy in your nervous system, like keeping that old story running, keeping, all those pieces of the puzzle connected. So, actually, let me know in the chat box, just so I've got it there to refer to. If you've got just a first it can be a really, what you might consider a pathetic, half-assed attempt at your old money story, that's totally fine. Let me know if you've got something in the chat box that we can look at together, because I want to make sure I leave enough time to actually help you with that. And while you're doing that, why do we worry about the old money story? Why do we worry about story to begin with, rather than what are my limiting beliefs. And so the way that I explain it is that you're running this overarching story, we all are, about everything in our lives. We tell ourselves a story, right? And then everything that happens, we view through that lens. And that old story gives birth to and supports and activates lots of limiting beliefs. So the limiting beliefs are almost like the roots or the tentacles that spring out of the bigger level story, right? So if we actually go to the higher level story, it's like you're knocking out the ant's nest rather than chasing after individual ants. So big difference, much more effective. It feels a lot less overwhelming because you'll be able to spot things where you go, oh, why am I having that thought or that reaction? And you can just see that it's all part of that story. And that's also why we try to summarize it like really succinctly down to just that headline and that couple of sentence paragraph, because it says it all. If you were to make it a really big, long story with all the people that are to blame and all the reasons why, then you're actually still stuck in it. So by the time you get to that point where you're dissociating from it, you can just sum it up in a couple of sentences. And then that makes it so easy to spot from a mile away. And you can go, oh, I see you, and I'm not going there again, right? Does that make sense? Oh, good stuff, Claire. Just realized 2 old stories. Yes. And as you keep doing this work, you'll just keep going through the layers. Like when the first time you do it, you work on that big main story that's been running, that's responsible for most of your patterns. And then over time, you replace that, and then you notice there's little other stories around different bits and pieces. So it's a process that you apply over and over again, but just at the new level that you're then at. So when you approach it from that level of story, it's a lot less overwhelming, gives you control and choice much more quickly. And the reason it's important to change it is because just worrying about bringing more money in won't change your money patterns, because your money patterns are unconscious, automatic patterns in your nervous system, right? That's what your habits are. They're an unconscious and automatic pattern in your nervous system. So just bringing in more money just amplifies it, So what we need to do is really change the story. And when we change the story, we change the pattern. We change the pattern of how we feel, how we react, and how we behave. Oh, nice one. I just saw that in the chat box. I have to say that out loud. Claire said she's just realised, and I'm taking notes of everybody who's got stories to work with. So that's good that I know, because I'll be quick with my bit. Claire said, I've realised that I want to make money in my business to avoid dealing with one of the money stories. Ooh, love it. Love it. Can't wait to hear more about that. So what we're doing here, like I said, is we want to start recognizing it so that we can dissociate and release it. And when you've got that unconscious automatic pattern running in your nervous system, it's unconscious, right? You don't even know you're doing it. You go, why do I keep ending up in the same place? Why does the same pattern keep repeating? You've got no idea. It's all just running automatically in the background. When you become conscious of it, because you go through this process, then you're like, oh, I see it. And by definition, it's no longer unconscious because you've become consciously aware of it. So you're really bringing it up out of the unconscious and you're going, I see you. And that in itself, in terms of your nervous system and in terms of the neural pathways that are following, is huge, because your neural pathways fire like at the speed of sound. And when you have to slow it down, when you bring it up into your conscious awareness and it slows down to the point that you can actually see it and recognize it, it's effectively ground to a halt in terms of the speed at which it's normally firing at. So you're really, really breaking it down. So awareness is your superpower, right? I say that back in module 1, and this is one of the other examples and reasons why. Okay, so when you go through this in the module, you've got a tutorial that starts by talking about your money habit archetype, And then there's a meditation you go into, and then a PDF worksheet to help you start fleshing out and writing up that old money story. And there's also, remember, there's a bonus meditation in there called Safe to Let Go, which kind of helps settle everything down. So tell me in the chat box, what is your money habit archetype? Let's start there. And how do you know? How do you know that's your money habit archetype? And the reason, while you're doing that, the reason that's a great place to start is that's the tip of the iceberg. That's the bit that we can see poking up above the water and we go, I keep doing that. That keeps happening. What's that about? And so that tells us like where to start drilling and going deeper. The archetype is the manifestation of those underlying stories. And there's usually one overarching money story that informs everything. So it's the manifestation of your behavior and your feeling. Tamsin says, I'm a spender and I know that because I never get ahead no matter how much I have coming in. Yeah, because a spender pattern is money in equals money out. Doesn't matter the dollar amounts. There are some really nice private jets and private islands and all sorts of cool things. Who was I telling yesterday that our neighbours spent $9 million building their house and then they decided they don't like it and they're going to sell it. They moved in March and they're not going to get their money back because they're overspent. And it's a perfect example because they're actually cross lotto winners. They won a humongous amount of money, multiple 8 figures, and they haven't up-leveled their mindset. So you can just see it. I can just see it. Like I'm going, oh my God, you guys are like a perfect case study because the money, it's just a river of money flowing out. And, it's great because they've got the money, but you can see how it's trying to get back to what's their natural set point. And that's really scary to actually watch right next door to you. Karen says she knows she's an accumulator because it feels like never enough. She's always spending wisely, buying from the specials rack. Yep, Carol says spenders, same as Tamsin. Jack is an accumulator. Tell us how you know that, apart from you've taken the quiz. Because it's interesting to go, yeah, and when people first look at the archetypes, they all think, I want to be an accumulator. But being an accumulator that's driven by fear and by, that inner, it's never enough, that's not a healthy pattern either. So we want a healthy money habit pattern, but we also want a healthy mindset and a healthy story that we're running to feel safe and secure. Definitely an accumulator, says Claire. There's a bit of spender in there as well. And this reminds me to remind you that most accumulators, because they're such accumulators, think they don't qualify to be called an accumulator. They go, no, I'm a spender because I never managed to save enough. Squirreling those nuts away for the winter. And my neighbours need me. Yeah. Catherine has become an accumulator, but trying to pay off my previous spender habits. Is that why you smirked at me just then? Because I hadn't read that yet. Maybe you are an accumulator, Steph. Just one who thinks she's not qualified to be called that yet. We tend to, like magnetic money tends to attract 80% plus of accumulators because they're the only ones who give a shit. Spenders are like, it's fine. Jack says, similar to Karen, I look for the bargains, feel like I straddle the spender too. Spender's a reward. Oh, no, Jack, how naughty of you. More work to be done, right? More work to be done. Everyone here's going, yeah, I feel you. I have exactly the same stuff going on. Might redo the quiz. I used to be an accumulator. Yep. And look, your archetype doesn't necessarily change because it's kind of your intrinsic childhood programming. But again, when you become aware of it, you can heal and shift things and just start having a much healthier attitude and a much healthier pattern going on. Yeah, married to a spender, which can be problematic. Yes, it'll be fine. I don't think Martin's ever asked me, is that going to be okay? How are we going to pay for that? Never. Even if I ask him, it's like he goes blank. He just goes blank. He's like, I don't know. The money's just there. It's so funny. So yes, recognizing it in your partner, in those around you is really, really helpful too. Okay, so let's play with some old money stories. Before I'm just going to quickly share Gisella's that we worked with yesterday because it was a really good example of a little subtle tweak. And I think it'll help before I ask you to pull yours up. But just those of you, I've got Tamsin, Steph, Claire, Carol, hopefully I haven't missed anyone, to workshop yours. So I've got you on my list. We're going good for time. So just make sure you have it ready to copy and paste into the chat for me. Let me share meanwhile. Oh, actually, I might just share this page first. Let me just talk about this for a moment because sometimes it confuses people. So this is not to say your story has to follow the archetypal storylines, but it's to give you a bit of an idea. Like usually the stories tend to all condense down to the same kinds of messages, right? Which is either the hero, like I use money to make me look important, or the ruler, like I use money to feel or be in control. The martyr, which is like, oh, look at me, you know, I give everything to everybody else. The peasant, which is like, oh, it's just my lot in life and there's nothing I can do, I'm powerless. The magician, which is usually the spender or the overextender, and they'll just go, oh, I'll just conjure it, it'll be fine. And, you know, the sage is where we'd all like to head to. So we want to create more sage in our story where we know money is a flow, there's a supportive universe, we need to take responsibility, we've got the tools, we also need to do the work. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly mention that and then just reiterate that. Bring that in front of me so you're not looking at my ear. So this is kind of the guidelines for what we want your old story. And we call it the old story because next week we're going to help you, fine tune your new story and then talk about, well, how do you actually then start to embody it? And you actually already know the answer to a lot of that because we've covered that in previous modules, but we'll bring it in and go, how does this actually apply to the new story? So old story, the one we're ditching, the one we're leaving behind, we want to use a character to play the role you've been playing because we want to dissociate. So it's not you, it's not a story you tell in the first person and present tense. It's a story that you tell in the past tense and about a character. So you can give the character, a relevant name. Using a bit of humor is a really good thing. So you're telling the story about a character that symbolizes what's been going on. You tell the story in the past tense. You want like a really strong kind of tabloid style headline that almost emphasizes what the overarching message has been, like the belief. And then just a newspaper style summary paragraph. When you read a newspaper blog article, the first paragraph kind of sums up the whole story, and then the rest just fleshes it out for you again. So we just need that summary paragraph, just like when you're at the checkout and you read the headlines or you scroll Instagram, like you go, well, I didn't actually read all about it, but I saw a few headlines and I've got the gist. That's all we need. So the question we're answering is, what was the mistaken belief they took on? And it's actually really good to start your little summary style, your summary paragraph with that. She mistakenly believed this because that happened. And you want to keep it brief. You don't want to go into a whole deep explanation of all the background that created that story and so on, because then you're reconnecting to it. You're reactivating it in your nervous system. So you want to keep it fairly brief. So Gisela and I went through hers yesterday. And the reason, if anyone's going, when did they do that? Why did they do that? Because Miriam put up some focus sessions, but then forgot to let you know. But Gisela noticed that there was some available and booked in. And so I am putting some more up next week, like I said, but old money stories, all I want to talk about because it is important. So let me just show you. Basically, she'd done an amazing job already when she jumped on. So the first one, version 1, is what she came up with. So just take a moment to read that. So the character was the wannabe artist, and her headline was "Art Faker Found Out." And then the paragraph went, she always felt she was an artist, but was told that she wasn't good at it. So she hid from her talents by copying and following other artists' styles, and she never fully finished her art so that she didn't have to show anyone. So she didn't become an artist, but taught others the joy of it. And then she wrote, mistaken belief. She let one person's opinion stop her following her passion. She was always an artist. So let me know in the chat box, like you can see that she's done a really good job of this already. And is there anything here where you're like, I think, sorry, let me give you context. When people put their story together and give it to me, it's not for me to decide when it's finished. It's for you to decide when it's finished. And the way you know is because you feel differently. You feel the weight lift off your shoulders. And so I said to her, how does it feel? And she was still like, you could see she was still really hooked on it. Now, there's something in here that really told me that she's still really hooked into this story. Can anyone pick what it is? It's not a trick question. Just wanted to see if anyone can spot it. And you can, when you read it, it's often easy to do for other people.
Is it the headline? Like she's
yes.
Got the identity of an art faker?
Yes,
is it that?
Perfect. I'm so glad you spotted that, because I saw that straight away. And when I read that, I feel the pain. Like, does everybody else get that? Art faker found out. She's put that headline on her story. So she's really putting that pain and that it's like she's keeping the story alive. Does that make sense? Rather than giving the headline, making it a headline that's about the story she was telling herself. She actually makes the headline what she took the story to mean. And there's a difference. So that's really cool. Thank you, Claire. Is everybody else seeing that? Like, art faker found out she's being really horrible to herself, for starters. And that let me know that, and in talking to her as well, when I could tell she was still, like she was just feeling really bad about it. And Gisela said something like, I'm just feeling really sad about all the time I've wasted. So we worked on that first of all. I think the wannabe artist, that's fine. You could probably argue with that a bit as well. Let me see if I can. Hopefully everybody can see. Hang on, I'm just going to move it because I've got this just in a note and just make it easier to see. So we changed the headline. And we ended up with artist fakes it rather than creates it. And can you see how that's more to do with what she had going on rather than her labeling herself? So that was a really good start. And then we just played with the actual paragraph a little bit, where like I said before, I started with the mistaken belief, because often that's a really good place to start. Like, one person told her she was no good at art, and she mistakenly took their opinion as fact. So she hid from her talents by copying and following other artists' styles and never fully finishing her. So the rest I pretty much kept this sort of the same. And then I just added, she taught others the joy of art, but deprived herself of it, because that's why she was so sad, right? But then she realized she was always an artist. And it's good to finish the story on a bit of a turning point as well. So is that helpful to kind of see? And if everybody's story will be their own and they'll all be different, but that gives you sort of an idea. Like, it was a really great start, and I'm not expecting everyone to get there. Gisela's been doing this for a number of years, and she's gone through many layers of story. So she's pretty experienced at this, but you can see that, there's still that tweak at the end. And when we did that, after we worked through that and we changed it, she literally went, the Did you just let go of this weight? And Gisela, hang on, I know you were driving. Don't know if you can chat. Tell me how you're feeling about it today, if you can.
Hey.
Hi, honey. Thanks for being such a wonderful example.
Oh, no, it definitely felt, that lightness thing that you keep talking about. But it's just like, still trying to play it up. But so now it's like, it feels a lot calmer today because I've been teary for the last week.
Yeah, you were really you used the word, I've been mourning, I've been grieving. Yeah. So do you feel like that still needs a little more work, possibly?
No, I think because I went into the studio last night and did a little bit of something. So it was like, oh, okay.
Good. Cool. So awesome. So what I would say to you and everybody else is when you feel a significant physical shift, like that's better, and it doesn't feel so upsetting or you don't feel so activated by it anymore, that's fine. And just sit on it. And often it's good to just leave it for a couple of days, then come back to it, if you feel you need to just tweak it a little bit more. But don't get all attached to it and make it like your new baby, because this is about letting it go. And so we just want to get it to a point where you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. I've got it. I feel the release. Fuck off now, right? Literally enough. And then we move on to something much more fun and productive that you can feel really joyful about. Good. So next week, Gisela, will work on your new story. Yay. Thank you. All right. Let's hear it. So Tamsin, you said you've got something. Can you pop it in the chat box for me? And I'm going to pop it in a notepad so everybody can see it on the screen. Okay, so, oh my God, my chat box keeps jumping to the top again. Okay. Oh. Where did I end up? That's not what I'm trying to do. Why isn't it letting me copy paste? Thank you. So it's Sabotage Susie, headline. Here I am. Headline, crying out loud. Smart Susie sabotages her success. And very good. I like your character name. And the mistaken belief. Cool. Thank you. Very helpful having it in the chat box. And yeah, cool. Okay, so Sabotage Susie, Smart Susie sabotages her success. Smart, yep. Smart Susie, so she's Smart Susie or she's Sabotage Susie, Tamsin?
Well, she's smart, but she's so smart that she sabotages herself.
Gotcha. Cool. Smart Susie believed she had to play down her skills so others wouldn't feel less than and didn't belong. Right. Mistaken belief she took on was you can't shine your light and be successful with that. Can I just say that's really brilliant. Now tell me about how you feel about it.
I think in recent times it's sort of come to me because I always actually hate the prompt of old money story and what is your first money memory and all of that, because I actually don't have anything with that. I don't have a childhood where I struggled or financially, I was looked after. I had whatever I needed. I wasn't like a spoiled child or anything like that. And money wasn't spoken about at home. Just things just got done, which is a little bit how I am with money. It's just like money's there and you just kind of spend it and whatever. And despite being an accountant and knowing better, I've never been able to get ahead. And it's only recently that I've put it together that when I talk about Smart Susie, I take that as being, I'm like the academic in the family. And so, you know, I'm smarter than everybody else. But of course, being smart isn't always about theory and brain stuff. You can be good with your hands and all of that. But I've always felt I can't be me because I don't fit in with my siblings. I'm different to them. So where do I downplay it? Don't be as smart and don't be successful by using your brain. And yeah, don't have the money. And it's like they've gone on and lived their lives and done whatever they want, and they're all quite good and doing quite well now. And I'm the one who's sitting here thinking, what the fuck happened? You know, I should be this, I'm the smart one. I should be the best off out of all of us, and I'm not. And I go, so, you know, I feel a lot of regret and sadness for all the beating up that I've done of myself.
Yeah. So it's interesting that, you know, what you said about the money story and the money memories, because it's not, like I always say, it's not really about the money, right? It's about all the things that money symbolizes. And so money is a symbol of success and doing well. And it taps into our self-belief, our self-worth, and the things we think are valuable about us. You know, we literally will say things like, oh, do you know what they're worth? They're worth this much. Their worth or their net worth is, right? Interesting how we use the language like that. And that's really powerful stuff. So this is really cool because you've nailed it. You've actually managed to unearth what was the money story, because it is a money story. It's like you're not allowed to be smart and use that to propel yourself to success, including monetary success, because it means you're not going to belong and others might feel like they're not good enough. So you've totally nailed it. So tell me, now that you've gone through this, and I just kind of tidied it up a little bit, I like putting the mistaken belief first once you've gone through the process. And sometimes it's appropriate to say whatever gave her that idea. So is there a succinct way of saying that? Is it like, in our house, it wasn't okay to be a show off, or modesty was valued?
I can't actually remember anybody saying anything about it or doing it. I think it's just a perception that I had.
But so the question I ask, sorry to interrupt you, the question I ask is, whatever gave you that idea?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if just, you know, it's one of those things, just park it and see what pops up. Because that may be an extra piece of the puzzle that actually helps make this even more powerful for you. So whatever gave you that idea, just hand that over to your unconscious, get on with your life, and you might find that you have a moment, you know, where you're in the shower or having a cup of tea and suddenly it hits you. And it's often just really inane comments people make, and we take it to mean something totally different. And it may be that it adds something really valuable for you here. Could be that you don't really need it. But as it is right now, like reading that, does that make you feel like there's something there for you to just consciously ditch?
Yeah, absolutely. It's no, I think it has been bubbling there for a while, and you know, it's just coming out now, and you know that the time is right.
Yeah,
to move on.
Absolutely. All right. Good work. I'll pop that in the chat box for you as it is on the screen if you want to keep that. That's really cool. Thank you, Tamsin. All right, Steph, what you got for me? Copy button. Thank you. The Lonely Queen, the benevolent and sometimes foolish ruler. I love it. Okay, so talk me through some of this.
Okay, so this is a bit underbaked because it's a bit different to the money story I'd done previously with a different coach. So I love the having a character name. I think that actually means that you can catch it quicker. So I love that idea. Okay, so my money story is all around, it's very boring, very cliche. Unless I'm contributing, I don't have a right to even draw a breath, right? So I really had to earn my place in the household. So I always felt like I was in danger of even being kicked out of my own household and family unit. So that having to contribute and having to work, and also not being allowed to have fun while working, right? Like it had to look like it was miserable or not fun, right? And also being told that I wouldn't be able to make money from my talents or my passions, right? Horses will cost money. You can't make money from that. Realizing that I had to be hyper independent and I had to be entirely self-reliant to be safe. So that's meant that I'm now quite controlling. I wonder why. Like to be completely in control of my own resources, and don't provide access to even my husband on the resources that I bring in. Also being told that I'm bad with money, you know, and areas like I don't leverage my money. I struggle to hold on to it. I can manifest horses like this, money for myself, not so much. So yeah, so there's some interesting things going on.
Okay. And I want to know, why did you choose that headline, non-benevolent and sometimes foolish ruler?
Oh man, I am not a nice ruler to work for.
You're not sorry, say that again.
I am not a nice ruler to work for, right? Like this programming is means that I work so incredibly hard that I never take rest. And yeah, she's not a fun boss. I don't enjoy working for myself.
Okay, so you're non-benevolent to yourself.
Yes.
Not to others.
Oh yeah, my realm was very small.
Right.
The realm of one. Yeah.
The realm of one. Yeah. Okay. And that's fine. Like it's not about it's mainly about you really understanding what you mean by things. Somebody else might go, oh, I would use different words. Doesn't matter. It's not their story. It's your story. So as long as it means exactly what you need it to mean and you get it, that's all that matters. Okay. So you've pretty much got it, right? So the mistaken belief, sorry, as you were talking, I rewrote that top line. Would that be a fair way to sum it up? You said something really poignant at the start, and I kind of kept listening, and then I went, oh shit, what did she say? That was so good. And it was like around that, unless you contribute financially, was it you're not worthy?
Yes. Yeah. That, and I said that I wasn't even worthy to draw breath, right? Like it wasn't just, yeah. So
okay, and draw breath, you know, I would almost say exist. Okay. And you could reword that. Let me play with this. And this is just playing with it to see like where it lands for you. She mistakenly believed that she, oh my God, sorry. I didn't take typing lessons in school because I'm like, I don't want to be a secretary. And then we got computers. She mistakenly believed that she wasn't worthy just because she existed. It's the same thing, but said differently.
Yeah.
Which one is like, oh no, that's the one?
Oh, it's definitely the fact that I'm worthy just because, right? Like what a radical belief. I'm nowhere near that belief yet, but keen to take steps towards it.
I don't know why I'm trying to soften the blow for you, but I think it's a bit like Gisella's. You know, I think that it's great to write the old story, but you don't want it to be, you want it to be something you can walk away from, not where you're still using it to beat yourself up. And it's just about like feeling into it. It's a real you got to feel it thing, and you don't want to pull your punches and just gloss over it, but you also don't want to use it as more self-flagellation. So
for me, it's less about the financial stuff as well. Like the financial stuff's a big part of it, but it's even just, you know, work, like labor and stuff as well. It's not just, so as I'm contributing my time, my effort, my labor, money.
I'm going to leave it in there. This is my suggestion right now for that opening line.
Yeah.
Or her there's a better way of wording it, you know, her existence is not worthy or something like that, but that's all right. You can polish and play with this later.
Yeah, sure.
So then we move into, okay, so what did she do? So she felt, you said she could only count on herself, like she could only count on herself.
Yeah, so she,
Like, I'm just
I guess if we stick with the character, you know, she created an island of one, you know, where she could just be entirely self-reliant and safe, but then also disconnected and isolated.
Ooh, I've got tears coming up. Yeah. This is why my newsletters have typos. So she created a lonely island of one where she could be, where she could keep herself safe. So we want to just try and condense it. Hard for her money. I'm just rewording it. And this belief can't make money from passions. Condensing all that down.
Yeah, we've done that one as well. So
Yeah.
that's
So you're happy to get rid of that? It's almost like she never felt like it was good enough.
Yeah.
Like those next few bits.
Yeah.
Her efforts were good enough, or she was good
Yeah,
enough?
that's good. Yeah.
And struggled to hold on to money. And it's really cutting herself off, right? Cutting herself off from support.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So say outside support. Became hyper independent and an isolated. Okay. Give me a turning point. Give me a glimmer of hope on the horizon to wrap this up with, Steph.
Yeah, good. Should we workshop it? Anybody, any ideas? No.
No, tell me what's she starting to realize, what she's starting to think might be possible.
Yeah.
But then
she's building a bridge to the mainland.
Oh.
Opening the gates to Arendelle, everybody.
All right. Then she started building a bridge to the mainland. I love it. I love it. Popping that in the chat for you. You can, play with that. Sorry, I can't help myself. Basically, but hopefully everybody can see what I'm doing. Like it's about, okay, what's the actual message of this? How can we condense it down? Because we don't want to get too deep. But we want to make sure that we really hit on the, what was the mistaken belief? It's great. Again, Steph, the one little piece that you might want to play with is whatever gave her that idea. And you kind of talked about it, but try to really condense it down. And then, please add a glimmer of hope. And it does get easier. Yeah, because you get the feel for it, Like you might be watching me going, oh my God, how'd she do that? I've done this lots of times. I really love it. Plus I created the process. So, it's fairly easy. Claire, do you want to have a quick play? If you guys are happy, we might not break into breakout groups. I think this is a more resourceful use of our time. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Let's see it then. To make sure I download this chat. There's some really good stuff in here. Character Penny. Okay, Penny scrimps and scrapes so she won't get into trouble. I like Penny. I think you've used Penny before. Penny mistakenly believed that she couldn't spend money on herself from the household budget because she'd gotten into trouble for doing so in the past. So she felt guilty whenever she spent money on herself and would try to hide it from her husband or make money herself in her business to buy things she wanted. Ooh, did you just write this now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then she realized it's okay to have open discussions about money and she doesn't need to scrimp and scrape and keep herself small so she won't get into trouble. Penny took on the belief that's not okay. Okay, cool. So
it's not
how do you
in
feel
the
about it?
past sense. Oh, it's well, it needs work, but it's definitely on the money. And I use penny because you think like penny, it's only 1 cent.
Yes.
Yes.
So you've kind of covered it all.
Yeah.
How do you feel having written it out? Like, have you felt a shift?
It feels like it's ready to go, and I'm aware of just how, because the tears aren't far away, which means it's really hit the mark.
You got it, baby.
But I realise how much it affects everything, because my solution is not to deal with this and just make as much money as I want from my business. And then the problem is solved.
Then you can spend that money and not have to answer to anyone.
And while I've been kind of expanding myself within this and just kind of taking more and more of what I'm from the household budget, I'm still avoiding the issue.
Yeah, the issue.
Yeah.
I love it. Good work, Claire. So, Claire's done this a few times and she wrote this. You literally wrote this while we're on the call just now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you've been through this process a few times. And so this is what happens. Like you go through deeper layers, the process becomes more elegant and you kind of know what to do. And, the tears show you that there's a shift and there's something she really was ready and needed to release. So perfect. Beautiful example. Thank you so much. So I think that the only thing I would say is park it, have a look at it again, maybe tomorrow, the next day, and just maybe spend, ask your unconscious, because you may as well outsource that stuff. Is there like something that goes deeper or further back that this actually relates to?
I know what it relates to. But it's a long time ago. It's 40 years ago. It's ridiculous.
But that's okay because it's the same pattern repeating, right?
Yeah.
So it may just be that in that opening, she mistakenly believed that.
Yeah.
It's like, because she might end up rewording it to something like, because of a comment her husband made, which triggered a memory from her childhood when she got into trouble for blah, 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 right? So that way you're actually reaching back as far as possible to the root cause.
Okay. Yep. No, beautiful.
And then this story actually goes all the way back and rips it out from the origin, from the very root cause, and then
Yeah.
the whole thing collapses. Because if you only, it's like when you pull a weed, some people who I may or may not be married to have been known to just get the whippersnipper out to deal with the weeds. Seriously? And especially when it takes out half the agapanthus, I don't think that's a very appropriate way of dealing with it. So you want to pull the weeds out by the root.
Yeah.
Cool.
Lovely.
Great work.
Thank you.
All right. You're very welcome. Thank you for sharing that. It's bloody brilliant. Carol, do you want to jump in for a quick one?
Unfortunately, my story is not finished. It's sort of half done, and I can't actually copy and paste anything. I've just been scribbling away sort of while these things are coming up, and I can feel it coming up, but not enough to share.
Yeah, you don't want to do it under pressure. Thank you.
No.
So just use what I would love to ask all of you, whether it's you guys here on the live call with me or you watching the recording at home, pop your story, even if it's finished, especially if it's finished and we just workshopped it, add it to that post. If you go up to the featured posts in the group, there's an old money story workshop post. So add it in there, and it just creates a really great record, and it'll help you go back and get ideas and kind of reacquaint yourself with this process. And it also really helps other people who come into the group to kind of have some really good examples and references and see the process. So if yours is done and dusted, drop it in there anyway and just go, good riddance, goodbye. And Carol and anyone else who needs a hand, use that post. Also grab one of the focus calls next week. So we kind of used our time to workshop instead of going into breakout groups, but that's cool. What I would like to do just before we go, let me stop sharing so I can actually see your faces. Thank you very much. Do you want to just let me know in the chat box, going back to money habit archetype, because
You're on mute.
sorry, I don't know why I muted myself then. Going back to money habit archetypes, because that's a really interesting bit of background information that will bring up some things that will help you with your story. Let us know in the chat box. Ooh. Got a good protector there. Let us know in the chat box, what money habit archetype were your parents? Like, mum was this, dad was that. And let me know a little bit about how you think that affected you, if you can. Just or at the very least, just go, my mum was this, my dad was that. Because even just spending a bit of time on that will help trigger some memories, some kind of, and they're not always like really clear-cut memories of, I remember we sat at the kitchen table and mum said that, dad did this. It's not always as clear as that, but you get the feelings back and the meaning and the kind of reaction and what you took away from it. Like we were talking about with Claire, like she knows that goes back to something prior. Isha says, dad was an accumulator, mum a spender, which is why they fought over money all the time. Yep, and you can just see it a mile away. Mum was an accumulator and dad was a spender. Gisella's an accumulator. Find peace when I have money stashed away. Cool. Dad was generous. Yep. Mum was an accumulator. Dad was an accumulator as well. For Catherine, I used to feel that I was immature with my money. Dear. Mum was a scrimper and saver. Dad was an accumulator. Mum probably a spender. Yeah, and it's interesting then because you see the dynamics between them, and you also realize what you saw play out and what you made it mean. So it's some really good, juicy information. Anna says both parents were accumulators. There was never enough. That was always the story. My mum still loves to share the story about how she had envelopes to put money aside to save for different things. Yes, the good old envelope method. Mum and dad both spenders for Steph, one the fool archetype and the other innocent. Ah, yes. Claire had a mixture. Dad was definitely accumulator, very humble taste despite wealth, but then he had no trouble purchasing a new car regularly, for instance. Yes, selective accumulator. Jack says, Mum was an accumulator, Dad too. I grew up feeling there was not enough and I had to work hard to survive, which is an old money story. Yeah, and given what you said at the start of the call, Jack, about, daring to spend on yourself, very relevant. Good stuff. Okay, beautiful. Well, that was really awesome. Thank you all for your amazing contributions. I look forward to seeing all your beautiful old money stories. And most importantly, I look forward to next week when we've pulled up all the weeds and created a beautiful garden bed for you to plant your new money story in there and talk about how to really cultivate, what you do want to have nourishing and growing there to start becoming what leads you forward and the story that informs your relationship with money as you move on. So thank you, everybody. That was really, really awesome. I'm going to download the chat because I've got loads of great examples that I can share with other people down the track. Thank you again, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.